النفس الذي تهوى فقلت له.
Welcome everyone to Legacy of Thought. Today we will discuss an important topic within Farabi's philosophy. It's about the concept of time. What is time? And therefore we are going to dive into the word that we use in common day language to ask about time. And the question is when? We use when to ask for a time. Probably the best question you can ask if you want to know something about the nature of time is the question of when. Translated into Arabic, this means Mataa. As you can see provided in the text here, it stands right here. Harfu Mataa. This is our second chapter. And I will translate with you this piece of Arabic text, and we will, as usual, translate it. And I will give an explanation on this topic so we can further understand this complicated but quite important text about the nature of time. So let us start. الفصل الثاني حرف متى وحرف متى يستعمل, and he says the حرف is used. When is it used? When do we use when? He's going to talk about that. سؤالا, at a question, when we want to ask a question. He says سؤالا, at a question we use it. عن, about what? We are going to ask a question about what? حادثي, on an event that has occurred, on an event. حادثي من نسبته إلى الزمان المحدود المعلوم منطبق عليه. So he says here, so the second particle, and the particle we're talking about is Mataa, is used as a question about the event. Okay, but what do we know about the event? In relation to. من نسبته إلى. So he says in relation to. What we want to know about it is إلى الزمان. We want to know the time of it. But it has to be the known time and the limited time. The limited one is the محدود المعلوم. So the limited known time upon which it is built. منطبق عليه. منطبق عليه. So he says, the particle mata is used as a question that relates an event to a specific and limited known time. This time is tied to the existence of the event, whether the event involves a physical body or not, whether it is moving or still. So he says the mata is used to bind time to a certain event. We want to bind time to it. We want to connect it to time. Okay. We're going to translate it further. We will come to this point, of course, after a few sentences, because he's just going to add more about the definition of time. وعن نهاية ذلك الزمان المنطبقتين على نهاية وجود ذلك الحادث. So he says, and about the constancy of that time corresponding to the constancy of the existence of that event. جسما كان ذلك أو غير جسم, whether it is a body, جسم, whether the event or the thing in the event is a body, or if it is not a body. جسم كان جسم. So my clock is ringing. It's 2:02 it means, but that's one thing or another. So let's say the sound. Okay, you could possibly say sound is a jism. Let's say thought. So how long I think. When someone asks, when did you think about it? He's binding time to the concept of me thinking. Okay, me thinking is it's a jism moving because my brain cells are doing something. So jisms are moving, things are moving. But the thought itself that I have produced, that stayed in my brain or in my consciousness, the thought itself is not a jism. It's an emotional feeling that I have, or an imagination that I have. That's not jism. It's not something which we can feel, measure, or do anything with it. It's purely subject to my imagination. Well, we can still add time to it. How long was this thought in your head? So he says, time is not only added to things that have a body. He says, جسما كان ذلك أو غير جسم. It could be a jism, but it doesn't have to. It could also be a non-jism. بعد أن يكون متحركا أو ساكنا. So he says here, like, whether it has a body or not, that's the jism. جسم كان ذلك أو غير جسم. And he says after that, after بعد, it is moving or still, like if it is a body, even if it's moving or if it's still after it. أو في ساكن أو في متحرك, even if it is in something still or if it is in something moving. So he says whether the event involves a physical body or not, and whether it is moving or still, we can still imply time. So the last part, like the first one we said about jism, it doesn't matter if the object is physical or not, he says, and then he adds to it, it doesn't also even matter if it is moving or not. Because Aristotle, he argued that the measurement of time is motion, which Farabi also agrees, but he adds more to it. It's not only motion, because he clearly here says he doesn't have the object doesn't have to be in motion to measure it. And how can I tell you that? Because when one object is still but I am moving, I can still measure time upon it. I can say how long this object stays still. I have a can of Red Bull in front of me. I am moving, but the can of Red Bull is clearly not moving. But I can still tell you how long and when this object is there. Even if my measurement point was it just being here, I could still say, listen here, I'm going to count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was not 10 seconds, I know. But even if I count to 10, I look at the kind of object and I say, look, I have given a time to it, how long it stays still. That's one thing we can do. Critics will say of this thought, extreme Aristotelians will say to you, yeah, but you have placed it there. So it went from non-motion from motion to non-motion, and that's also what you can measure. So it was once in motion, now it's not in motion. So you are not measuring something that was never in no motion. You are still measuring something that was in motion, but now is not in motion. So your whole theory doesn't work, they say. I know what I've just told you in the last 30 seconds may sound like bullshit, but that's just me unable to explain it to you. But Farabi is against this, that only motion can determine the time. And if there is no motion, there is no time. He is against it. But he will also argue that atemporality, so that a moment, like I can't even say a moment that time doesn't exist, because I've already said moment, that timelessness does not exist. He acknowledges that timelessness can exist, but we will come further into that. Let me read further for you. وليس بشيء من موجودات يحتاج إلى زمان يلتئم به وجوده أو ليكون سببا لوجود موجود أصلا. And he says it is, and it is not laysa. He is going to disagree with something. He's going to negate it. And it is not that among the existence, mawjudati, the existing things, and bishay'in min al mawjudati, among the existence, so there is something within the existent ones in need of time. It is not in need of time, that it is in need of time for its existence to be completed. Or that is a cause for the existence of something else at all. So he says here that not all existing things depend on time to come into being. Some things exist without time. Time cannot measure it. That's what he here says. He says وَلَيْسَ بشيء من الموجودات. There, and it is no doubt that there is something between the existence that that can live without time. He means like I can give you an example. Um, like Farabi points out that not all things depend on time to come into existence. Some things just exist without time needing to complete their being or cause other things to exist. Let's think about God. God is outside of time, because if God was bound to time, he would cease to exist after a moment, and he would have changes, and he would be different, and so on and so on. God does not need time for its existence. The same goes for the universe. Those are different topics. But we just have to know that what Farabi means here, he says not everything needs time to exist or to cause other things to exist. Some things just are without needing of time. Okay, so now it will look like I am going to contradict myself, because I said that the measurement of time is motion, that it is false according to Arabi. Now you will think that I was tricking you and deceiving you into believing that, but I will explain why the position I hold about this text of Arabi is true, but we just have to translate it first, or what he is going to say. So, فإن الزمان متى فإن الزمان متى ما عارض اضطرارا عن الحركات، وإنما هو عدة عدها عقلي حتى يحيي به ويقدر وجود ما هو متحرك. So ho متحركة وساكن. So now you're gonna say ho if you understand Arabic. What does this guy say here? What he said here is the following. For indeed time, whenever it necessarily relates to motion. So he says, oh, it relates to motion. You just said to me, Ali, it can be measured even if there is no motion. Nothing but a measure by which the intellect comprehends and it estimates the existence of what is moving or still. So he says the time is like a mental situation to assess if something is in motion or not. So he says, Farabi thinks that time is always connected to motion or change. It is not something that exists out of its own on its own. It's a kind of measure or count the mind uses to understand and estimate the presence or duration of movement or rest. So when I told you that the Aristotelian logic of time is motion, of measured by motion, is false, what I meant is that the apparent meaning of the sentence is wrong. So that to measure something's time, that what you are measuring must be in move. But that's what I debunked. But what I said, the Red Bull is moving still, is not changing, but I am moving. So it is in relation to it. So the relation must be moving. So if I am standing still and I'm not moving at all, which is impossible by first of the time, because I'm a human being. Things change in me. I'm in motion. I change. I feel differences. But if I were into a state of complete non-motion, and the can of Red Bull would be also in non-motion in its full sense, which we as humans cannot achieve. But if it be like that, it's a mental experiment, then there would be no thing such as time, because none of us is moving. But when I say non-motion, you shouldn't understand me not moving any limb, because it goes far beyond that, because my mental state also changes, chemicals in my body change, the way I even look at things, the way I focus my eyes on, that change. So any change we're talking about. Non-motionless is not just like my limbs do not move, so I am in non-motion. No, 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 no. It goes deeper than that. Non-motion means like non-existence at all. You can look at it in that way. Non-existence in the sense of the human existence. Like you don't even have a soul. You can look at it in that way. That's what they mean. So when I say that the measure of time is motion, and I say that's bullshit, I talk about the apparent meaning. In its total meaning, he is way correct, more correct than ever. Way more correct than ever. I hope this is clear. So, I'm summarizing here. Time is not a thing by itself, but it is a measure our own mind uses to understand motion or rest. But it is always relative to motion. So, when the can is still, I am always moving. So that's not the point. But I am always moving. So whatever I measure, even if it is still, there is a relative relation of motion between the two objects, me and the thing I'm measuring. So that's what I'm trying to explain clearly today. I hope I have done it well. And now we're going to go to a comparison of time and place. Why we cannot, because someone would say like place is the same, but like that it also has to have a relation between two objects. Like place is the relation of one thing to another, and it's not objectively existent out of place. Somebody could argue this and would say that the nature of time and place are equal. But Farabi goes into this. وليس الحال فيه مثل الحال في المكان. So he says وليس الحال, so the حال of time, the state of time, so the concept of time is not the same as the concept of place. فإنه, indeed, أنواع أجسام محتاجة إلى المكانة ضرورة في الأشياء التي أحصاها من قبل. And he says, I'm gonna put it from all the way back, and the state of time is not like the state of place. For place is imagined as a thing different from what surrounds it. And he says, and it's not something for time. That's not something that time has that. So in like place, which we imagine as a separate space around things, time doesn't exist on its own. We can only conceive of time through counting and measuring. So when we say place, like let's say how can I put this? I am in the room. The place is the room. It exists outside of me. Even if I would be in the room or not be in the room, the cube I am in, not the walls, I'm not talking about the walls, but my location between those four walls, the location itself, whether I am in there or not, the location is existent. The location is between those walls, between those four walls around me. Whether I am in there or not, whether I am there or not, the place exists. As long as the four walls are here, even if they wouldn't be here, because I could say imaginary walls, or I could say the other wall on the street. It is in relation to things around me, my place, but it exists even if I am there or not. So the measured thing, if it is there or not, because we are measuring me, my place, we're looking at my place, because place is what surrounds me, even if you would remove me out of that equation, the place, if you think about it in your mind, it still exists. But time, when I'm measuring something and that thing disappears, well, I cannot measure anything. The time is gone. It's not like something that exists separate from me. It is me. If I am measuring myself on time, I am measuring me. I'm not measuring what's around me. I'm measuring me. And place, I'm measuring something around me, something that exists beyond me. But with time, I am measuring myself and the motion I am in. The motion, if I'm resting or if I'm moving, at what speed and how long, etc. That's what I'm imagining. That's what I'm measuring. And then what we say, if there is no motion at all, what I said in the beginning, the time cannot be imagined or measured. There is no movement. Not from the measurer and not from the thing that is measured. And then we come back to the quote of Aristotle, time is the measure of motion. So time can only be measured by motion. So the thing itself that is going to be measured, within that there is time. And if that thing is non-existent, then time also doesn't exist on that event or at all. But with place, we're measuring something outside of what is measured, because we're trying to locate my location, but what I am looking at is what is outside of the thing, what is outside of me. I'm going to say, where is Ali? Ali is in his room, so I look at the room. The room is the place, and that gives me where Ali is. If Ali was out of there, the place would still exist. But when I am measuring, how long did Ali write? When was he done with writing? And if only thing existent in this universe would be me, because then you can say like, okay, Ali wrote it at 12 p.m. He finished it. He wrote it. And you ask, when was Ali done with writing a letter? You say 12 p.m. Take Ali out of the equation. You ask, would 12 p.m. still exist? Yes, it would exist, because other things are also moving at 12 p.m. But if Ali would be the only creature that existed together with the measurer, 12 p.m. would not exist. It could maybe exist potentially if the measurer was measuring himself, but let's say the measurer can only measure something outside of him, so that he himself is like still and non-moving. We would argue then that measuring something requires a certain amount of motion. But let's say we negate that and only Ali exists there, and Ali was ought to disappear, then 12 p.m. as a concept would also disappear. So that is it, I think. Thank you for watching. I hope it was clear, loud, and you have understood what I mean. And I hope I have understood what Farabi has meant. If I did understand it wrong, please tell me. Yes, thank you. Bye bye.